Hey y'all! Beating Pokemon Crystal using only one Shuckle was a real cluster shuck, so this week I'm hoping we can have a bit of an easier time. I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one Wooper! As per usual, the rules are I can only use Wooper in battle, and I can't use any trainer items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. Wooper is a water and ground type Pokemon based upon the real-world Axolotl that has been the subject of some very strange fan-made videos. And during my very first playthrough of Pokemon Crystal 20 plus years ago, I used a Quagsire on my team, so this one's very nostalgic. Quagsire also happens to be my wife's favorite Pokemon, and she doesn't even like Pokemon, so that is saying something. That's actually why I chose to do Wooper for this week, because it's my wife's birthday. So really, it's a gift that nobody asked for. In terms of the stats, well, they're really mediocre. Especially that special defense at base 25, and that speed at base 15, ay. Hey, at least the move pool's pretty great though. We get plenty of different options, and water, ice, and ground in particular is really great coverage. Plus, Wooper learns the move Earthquake pretty early on. And that's really great when you consider other similar ground types like Gligar only ever got to use Mud Slap. Okay, let's just get into it. There's an Axolotl to get through. Off at Professor Elm's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Totodile with Wooper so that a rival will pick the Grass-type Chikorita. Wooper is double weak to grass moves, so Razor Leaf is going to make me cry, I can already tell. It's my wife's birthday this weekend, and Wooper is ready to party, so I nickname ours Whoop, there it is! Wooper starts off with Water Gun and Tail Whip. Water Gun is a decent move to start with, but even so, Wooper's special attack is not that high, and Bubs' Chikorita resists it, so we're not able to defeat the Chikorita. Oh god, please let that be a thing that I start saying in these videos. Also, we're having trouble, and this thing doesn't even have a grass move yet, so looking forward to that. Having been beaten by Bubs, I tried to take on Falkner and his flying-type freaks at the Violet City Gym, but we got wrecked pretty hard, so I tried to gain some levels at the Bellsprout Tower instead. And as you can imagine, it did not go well. We're double weak to grass, so even the level 3 Bellsprouts did us pretty dirty. And Wooper is totally chicken when it comes to facing grass types. Or as I like to call it, Coop, there it is! Things are looking pretty dark, so I decide to train up in Dark Cave. It's not so bad since there are Geodude in the cave that are double weak to Water Gun, and it feels so good to blow these things out of the water. And you might be thinking that by going from being knocked out by a double super effective attack from a Bellsprout to grinding against Geodude by using a double super effective attack that I'm just feeling the transgenerational cycle of trauma that those Bellsprout put me through. And to that I might say, shut up. Okay, now that I've got some more levels, I take on Falkner once again, and things go much better this time. Falkner's aggressive avians accost us with their aggravated aerial assault, or as I like to call it, swoop, there it is! But now that we're doing more damage with Water Gun, we're actually able to make quick work of his team. Yeah, we take a ton of damage in return, and only win because we use a berry to restore some of our HP, but those are just minor details. I've beaten Falkner, but I still need to get the HM Flash for beating Bellsprout Tower, but luckily for me, as soon as I hit level 15, Wooper learns the move Slam. It's a pretty strong normal move that finally allows us to knock out the stupid plants, with the only downside being that it's kinda inaccurate. Jeez, we've just made it past the first gym and already things are sprout of control. Now in Azalea Town, I'm ready to take on Bugsy the Bug-type gym leader for the Hive Badge. We're level 19, which is a little higher than Bugsy's Pokemon, so I'm hoping we can get through this. His Metapod is free experience, and so is the Kakuna, as long as it doesn't poison us, but the real problem is the Scyther. Fury Cutter doubles in power each turn, so it quickly gets out of hand. And even with the power of Slam, we don't have enough HP left over to finish the job. I keep trying this battle, and at level 21, despite being poisoned by Kakuna, we're finally able to win. I would have lost this battle just like before, if not for the fact that Fury Cutter is only 95% accurate and misses, which resets the base power. And with that, we can hold on and finish things off with Slam, despite the fact that it feels like this move is actively working against me. Every time I click Slam, it's like praying for help. We're sending out an SOS, or as I like to call it, a message in a lottle. Now that we've snubbed Bugsy's grubs, it's time to get the dub against Bubs. However, the Bub dub is easier said than done, because now his Chikorita is a Bayleaf, and that Bayleaf knows Razor Leaf. You might be thinking that we can just use the move Amnesia we recently learned to boost our special defense, and you'd be half right. Amnesia vastly reduces the damage of Razor Leaf, but Razor Leaf also has a high critical hit ratio, and if it crits, it ignores our stat boosts, meaning we instantly lose no matter how much health we have left. Alright, this was ridiculously difficult, so I'll just cut to the chase. Even after grinding all the way to level 30, I'm still struggling. Despite the whole Razor Leaf issue, we still have to contend with the Ghastly putting us to sleep or paralyzing us. I decide the best way to go is to set up an Amnesia and forego Mud Slap accuracy drops against the Bayleaf and just slam the dang thing while praying to not get critical hit. The Bayleaf astutely sets up a Reflect to have the damage of our Slam, making this entire process even more frustrating, but somehow, after half an hour of resetting, Wooper finally managed to get past the Bayleaf. It felt like I was caught in a vicious cycle of resetting repeatedly and getting nowhere, or as I like to call it, loop, there it is. I hold my breath, hoping for Zubat's bite to not flinch, and I breathe a sigh of relief when we finally win the battle. Next up is the Goldenrod City Gym in the battle with Whitney's Miltank. She's normally a problematic encounter, but this time she's trivial. I taught Wooper the TM for Headbutt we received within Elix Forest, which is more consistent than Slam, and I use it to take down the Clefairy. And with that, we've hit level 31 and learned the move Earthquake, the strongest ground move in the game. And as soon as Miltank locks itself into rollout, the battle is over. Earthquake 2-hit KOs the Bovine Behemoth and wins us the Plain Badge. And really, Whitney would have been better off using Stomp to trample us like a marching soldier, or as I like to call it, Troop, there it is! Despite this insane move upgrade, things immediately take a turn for the worse. I reached the rival Bubs in the Burnt Tower in Ecruteak City and holy crap, this battle was even worse than the last one. We have the same issue as before with Bubs' Bayleaf being able to one-hit KO us with Razor Leaf, but on top of that, his Haunter knows the move Curse now, and this makes it much harder to set up Amnesia, which we absolutely need to even stand a chance of withstanding the onslaught of Sharp Leafage. You can see the issues with Curse right here. Even with the insane luck required to take 3 licks without getting paralyzed, we still managed to set up 3 Amnesia. But Haunter curses us before we manage to knock it out with Earthquake, so now we're taking Razor Leafs from Bayleaf and the curse damage each turn, and we're just not strong enough to deal with both of these at the same time. It's not until we're all the way at level 38 that I finally managed to win this godforsaken battle, and even then it required multiple instances of luck. First off, I had Wooper hold a Paralyzed Cure Berry to help deal with the lick paralysis. And this helps, but usually I can only get up 1 or 2 Amnesia at best before Haunter uses Curse. This time though, the Bayleaf uses Poison Powder on the first turn, and then Wooper deftly dodges a Razor Leaf, or as I like to call it, Juke, there it is! We're not out of Grandma's Pantry just yet though. Zubat can still confuse us, and while it goes for Leech Life instead, Wooper now is in range of a Sonic Boom KO from the Magnemite. And thank God Magnemite is also slow as molasses because we outspeed and won a kill with Earthquake. And thank God too, because I'm tired of Bubs kicking our butt, or as I like to call it, boot, there it, okay, you know what, this is getting out of hand. Next up is the Spectral Showdown with the Ecruteak City Gym Leader Morty and his gang of Ghoulish Ghosts. And after the time we just had with Bubs, I'll be happy to never see another Grass-type Pokemon in my entire life. For this battle though, Morty's entire team gets wasted by Earthquake, and then the only thing he can really do to stop us is land a 55% accurate Hypnosis and put us to sleep. Demo Morty wa jouzo jarimasen, and we're able to smash his ghost for the victory, or as I like to call it, spook, there it is! Yep, you think I'm stopping this joke? Nah baby, we got like 20 more minutes left in this video. Woo! Now with the ability to surf, I set sail from Olivine City and head to the Sea and Wood City gym to take on the fighting type gym leader Chuck. And I head straight into the battle and, oh no. Okay, it looks like my 22-year-old game cartridge is having a bit of trouble. We in the biz like to call that a whoopsie. Chuck's Primeape goes down in 2 surfs, and his Poliwrath goes down in 2 earthquakes. After putting us to sleep, of course. Oh god, Wooper just can't keep its eyelids open. Or as I like to call it, droop, there it is! Chuck tries to set up his Mind Reader plus Dynamic Punch combo, but Wooper is awoken early by the sound of my Pokemon Crystal cartridge groaning under the pressure of crunching numbers in 2023. Next up is the Steel-type gym leader Jasmine. At least it's fair to say that what sanity we lost facing Bubs, we have gained by beating Jasmine on the very first try. And I'm still having nightmares thinking about the things I made Chuckle do to finish off Jasmine's giant snake. Anyways, Wooper sets up the Rain Dance on turn 1, and then Earthquake 1-hit KOs each of her Magnemites. And it turns out we actually speed tie her 2 Magnemite, but it ends up not mattering since they both just missed Supersonic. Or should I say, Wooper Sonic. After that, the super effective Rain Boosted Surf 1-hit KOs the Steelix, a feat that few Pokemon in these challenges have ever achieved. It's quite the exclusive group, there it is! I had to take on Price, the Ice-type gym leader in Mahogany Town, and Wooper comes in all kinds of hot all over Price's Pokemon. Seal gets blasted into the stratosphere by Earthquake, and while Dugong survives, it goes for rest. I mean, in the middle of an earthquake, who can sleep at a time like this? Dugong goes down, and then Piloswine uses Mist on its only chance to actually attack us before getting knocked out by Surf. Or as I like to call it, a missed opportunity. With 7 gym badges in hand, we now have to take on the rival Bubs in the basement underground during the Team Rocket Radio Tower anime arc. And well, things were going great for a while, but now it's back to your regularly scheduled crap bonanza, because Bubs' Bayleaf is now a Meganium, so we need all the amnesias we can get, but most of the time I can't even make it past the Golbat so that the Meganium can wreck my steez. Thank goodness Wooper can't learn the Icy Wind TM that Price gave us. Would have been real useful right about now. I keep trying this battle repeatedly in vain, constantly getting whooped on, and you can tell it's starting to get to me. In an attempt where I actually managed to make it past the Golbat with several amnesia boosts, I'm so despondent and resigned to failure that I figure I'm gonna hit myself in confusion anyways, so I don't even bother clicking Earthquake. And obviously, Wooper loses this battle, but this isn't even the worst of it yet. No, the real kicker is that I wasted a ton of time trying to win this battle essentially with my hands tied behind my back, because Wooper can learn Ice Punch, so there's no reason not to teach it and use it here. In fact, Ice Punch would have been super helpful against the rival fight in Ecruteak City, so I guess it's a shame that we couldn't teach it to Wooper back then, huh? Oh wait, what's that now? Uh-huh. Yeah. No, you can buy the Ice Punch TM in the Goldenrod City department store? Uh-huh. So, could have used it this whole time. Uh-huh. So, who am I talking to right now? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Now it's time for the final Johto gym leader, Claire the Dragon-type trainer. Now that we have the move Ice Punch, this battle is pretty simple. Claire's Dragonairs usually spam Thunder Wave, but Wooper is a ground type, so that don't work. Plus, Ice Punch deals massive damage to her dragons, and with an Amnesia boosting our special defense, her Kingdra opts to use the physical move Hyper Beam. We survive, and with the obligatory recharge turn, Wooper is able to 2-hit KO her Kingdra. We beat Claire super easily. She totally got ice creamed! Or as I like to call it, scoop, there it is! And for our efforts, we are rewarded with yet another battle with the rival Bubs in Victory Road. You might think that things would be a lot easier this time since he leads off with his Sneasel instead of Golbat, and while it is easier to set up Amnesia against the Sneasel, it can deal big damage after 4 turns of Fury Cutter, so this is still tricky. I tried at first getting only 1 Amnesia, hoping to reduce the amount of Fury Cutter damage, but in the end, while we were pretty close to winning, we just don't have enough health left over after Razor Leafs to survive Haunter's Shadow Ball, which is a physical move in this game and not special, despite what its mommy tells it. I modify the strategy and start going for 3 Amnesias every attempt. I figure there's a chance for Sneasel to miss Fury Cutter, and then the reduced Razor Leaf damage is far more valuable. I reset a couple of times before the Meganium poisons us, but then gets frozen by Ice Punch. Okay, well that's nice, but then Golbat confuses us and barely survives an Ice Punch. Okay, Wooper manages to break out of confusion, and while Magneton Sonic Boom leaves us pretty low, we have just enough health left over to survive the Haunter's Shadow Ball to clutch out a victory. So here are the stats and moves that the Elite Four. Wooper is level 58, which is pretty high compared to the Elite Four Pokemon, but even so, the measly stats balance things out. Special attack and special defense are pretty disappointing, but hey, at least the moveset's pretty good. To help boost the pitiful stats, I made sure to feed Wooper a ton of yummy vitamins. So I guess now it's a Snack-a-lotl. Up first is the Psychic type Elite Four member Will. I equip Wooper with the Bitter Berry to help deal with Xatu's Confuse Ray, but even so, this is really bad. Even with an incredibly lucky battle, we still lost. In this one, Wooper freezes the lead Xatu so we get to set up our Amnesia, but then Xatu dethaws and confuses us again. But that's okay, because we managed to freeze the Exeggutor as well. And that's super cool, but even with the special defense boost, we've taken so much damage that we just can't win. I reset this battle so many times, but Confuse Ray continues to troll us. So, nothing left to do but grind, I guess. We hit level 65, and that's specifically to take advantage of the way that the game calculates damage. We get a little extra damage for being at any level that ends with a 0, 3, 5, or 8, plus the extra stats that we have for leveling up. Ice Punch is now a range to one-KO the Xatu, but we often miss the range and get confused multiple times. I decided that going for damage instead of setting up Amnesia is far more effective. Earthquake 2-KOs the Slowbro, which is honestly pretty surprising to me. Still, the last Xatu refuses to go down. It keeps trying to confuse Raby, but Wooper has a clear mind and can't be confused. Thank goodness that's over too, because I'm pretty sick of grinding, and not the kind of sick that you can solve with Campbell's Chicken Noodle, or as I like to call it, soup, there it is! Next up is Koga, the Poison and Bug type Elite Four member. Right away, I'm a little worried about the Ariados, which is normally not even a thing I talk about, but it does have Giga Drain, which is double super effective against us. Luckily for Wooper, we outspeed and 1-KO it with Earthquake. But then we get hit by a Toxic from the Venomoth. It takes at least 2 hits to knock out each of Koga's Pokemon, and Fortress stalls for an extra turn using Protect, so that toxic damage really starts to add up. Things come down to the wire though, when we barely survive a wing attack from Crobat, and had Koga gone for a full restore, we would have taken an extra turn of Toxic and lost. I mean, just imagine, losing because of Toxic Sludge? Or as I like to call it, Goop, there it is! Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member Bruno. And normally, I would have made some kind of joke about Bruno, but with the way things are going, I don't want to have to pull my foot out of my mouth 2 minutes from now. Hitmontop goes for a dig, and because of that, it gets hit by Earthquake for double damage. That's a pretty cool mechanic that they introduced in this game, and Earthquake is really hitting his fighting Pokemon hard. Machamp comes out and is pretty bulky, and I think we're gonna be fine until it critical hits a Cross Chop. I mean, it is a high critical hit ratio move, but still, you know? Chalk that one up to another whoopsie. Okay, on the next go-around, things are better. Not only does the Machamp not critical hit Cross Chop, but it goes for Foresight, which does no damage. Onix goes down in a single surf, and Wooper moves on to my least favorite part of these runs. Speak of the demon spawn herself, next up is the Dark type Elite Four member Karen. Once again, we have a problem on our hands because she has a Vileplume that knows Petal Dance, which will one-hit KO us without Amnesia boosts. Her lead Scumbrion spams Confuse Ray and Sand Attack. The Confuse Ray gets cured once by our Bitter Berry, but the Sand Attacks causing us to miss gives more chances to be confused, which gives more chances to be hit with Sand Attacks. It's a circular cycle of suck! We actually do so much damage to ourselves from confusion that by the time we get to the Vileplume, I mean forget about Petal Dance, a Petal Foot Tap would be enough to knock us out. My usual strategy was to try to not get hit by Sand Attack and just outlast the confusion if need be, but eventually I realized I was resetting constantly and never getting past the Umbreon at all. So, besides the fact that I know I'm going to be hit by multiple Sand Attacks, and be paralyzed by Vileplume's Stun Spore, I decided to just power through, roll the dice, and see what happens. So, looks like we're playing the Axolotlery. Well, it turns out that was actually a good idea because Wooper pulled through. We're at low health and even cursed by Gengar, so all we need is all of our moves to hit. And somehow, by the grace of Arceus himself, Wooper comes in clutch and hits 2 Earthquakes through Sand Attack. I mean, I'm not sure how you could miss a friggin' Earthquake, but okay, it's fine. We're through it. No need to get super frustrated. It's over. Just need to stay calm and relax a lot. Now it's time for the champion battle with the last member, Lance the Dragon Master. I'm excited to just go in and Ice Punch Lance's whole team into oblivion, and that's what I would do if not for his lead Gyarados. It's immune to Earthquake, resists Surf, and is only neutral to Ice Punch. I tried this one a couple of times, and after each attempt, I usually lost to the Gyarados, or just after it. So, it's time to change things up. Because when things aren't working, sometimes you just gotta take a step back and reevaluate. The worst thing you can do is try to force things, or as I like to call it, Luke, there it is! Okay, so this is gonna sound a little crazy, but I went ahead and deleted Earthquake for the move Defense Curl. I can always teach Earthquake again by TM later, and right now it's not doing us any good against a team of flying types. For now, the plan is to freeze the Gyarados with Ice Punch, and then we maximize our defense stat so that we can withstand Lance's dragons. And once we're all set up, Ice Punch does massive damage to the Dragonites, and Surf is able to 1-hit KO the Aerodactyl and the Charizard. And that's pretty crazy. And with Lance defeated, we have finally conquered the Pokemon League, but you know the run isn't over yet. I'm always going to consider beating the final trainer Red as the final boss of this run, unless of course the Pokemon is just impossibly bad. I set sail upon the SS Aqua to head over to Kanto to take on their 8 gym leaders to acquire all 16 badges to earn the right to challenge Red atop Mount Silver. Wooper managed most of the Kanto gym leaders without much trouble, but the Celadon City gym leader Erica was really tough. It's mostly just because of her Victory Bell and Blossom. Wooper really hates those grass moves, and she's got plenty of them. And it's a shame our visit to Celadon City isn't going so well, because it is a beautiful city. I wouldn't want to live there though. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful place, but they sure do tax a lot. Instead of just going for broke with Ice Punch, I tried this again, but this time setting up Amnesia against the Tangela since it really can't do anything. Jumpluff uses Leech Seed, which isn't really that bad, and then rather than going for Razor Leaf, the Victory Bell sets up Sunny Day. Hey, that's pretty great, right? Well, no, because the Blossom goes for a Solar Beam, which doesn't have to charge a turn thanks to the sun. And we just barely managed to hang on. Even at our high level, there's no reason we should have won this battle. Or as I like to call it, fluke, there it is! With the other 7 Kanto gym leaders out of the way, it's time to take on the final Kanto gym leader Blue. Before I do that though, I head to Blackthorn City in Johto to visit the move deleter to get rid of the move Surf. This is the only way to remove HMs in this game, and I'm glad that it is here, because now I can keep my other moves while teaching the move Return. And with this, we have achieved Nirvana. Wooper now has the moveset Earthquake, Return, Curse, and Amnesia, and is holding the Leftovers item. So basically, we can maximize our attack, defense, and special defense while healing 1/16 of our max health each turn. Normally, any kind of setup like this that requires 9 turns to finish would be a terrible strategy, but Pidgeot is really the perfect foil for this kind of setup. With us using Curse, it's either doing less and less damage with Wing Attack, or it's using Mirror Move to copy our curses. And even with Pidgeot copying Curse, Return eventually does a lot of damage, and our physical attacks are able to decimate Blue's entire team, even through Alakazam's Reflect, which halves our physical damage. Gyarados survives on a small sliver of health thanks to that Reflect, but Blue repeatedly uses full restores, and by the time it actually gets knocked out, the Reflect has faded, and Wooper continues the sweep. And I'm glad that the move deleter exists, because the combination of Curse and Amnesia is really good. And because Curse is boosting our attack, we want physical moves, so we no longer need Surf. But Earthquake can't hit flying types like Pidgeot and Gyarados, so Return is the perfect addition. With this powerful combination of moves, Wooper was able to beat Blue's team single-handedly like the friggin' Road Warrior. And I guess that would make him the Mad Max-a-Lotl. With all 16 badges in hand, it's time to take on the final trainer Red atop Mount Silver. Alright everyone, I am not even going to sugarcoat this one. Wooper completely swept Red's team on the very first try. Yeah, it turns out this battle is absolutely free. So, no more pulling our punches, we're going full axe throttle! Because Red leads off with a Pikachu that knows 2 electric moves, the only moves it can use against Wooper are Quick Attack and Charm. Charm is the worst of the two since it does lower our attack by 2 stages, meaning we have to use 2 extra curses. But after that, he repeatedly spams Quick Attack, which eventually did less damage than Leftovers would heal thanks to our defense boosts. We did take a critical hit Quick Attack, so I had to spend some extra turns using useless Amnesia just to give extra Leftovers recovery. Pikachu goes down in a single Earthquake, and so does the Venusaur as it tries to charge a Solar Beam that would more than likely destroy us if not for Amnesia. Red then makes a pretty big brain play by sending out Espeon next and setting up Reflect, letting it survive an Earthquake. We tank a Psychic though and knock it out, but then the Snorlax comes out and doesn't even take half from an Earthquake. Snorlax helps us to stall out the Reflect though by going for Rest, and once it goes down, the Reflect fades just as the Blastoise comes out. The turtle is too tanky though, and it naturally survives a +6 Earthquake, but still, we knock it out, and while Charizard also survives a +6 return, it nudges us with a very gentle wing attack, and we finish it off to win the battle. Red might think he's the greatest trainer, but in the end, we whooped his butt until it was red. Okay, listen, I admit some of these jokes are kinda crappy. Or as I like to call it, poop, there it is! And with that, the challenge is over. Listen, I would love to say that Wooper is a great Pokemon, but that's hard to claim when it nearly faints every time it even looks at a Grass-type Pokemon. Okay, look, I know that technically Wooper is bad, but it's still one of my favorite fish-based Pokemon. I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure. As always, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a lot of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can find the rest of my Pokemon Challenge videos if you want to check those out as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want early access to these videos and to have your name listed in the credits, consider becoming a member or joining on Patreon. And if you have a Pokemon you want to see, let me know in the comments and I'll probably do it. Next week, I'll be trying to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one Meryl. Anyways, until next time,